Hello, my name is Bryce, and this is my channel Striving Intellect. And today I'm going to talk about something that I find really interesting: the collision of two galaxies, and specifically the Milky Way galaxy and the Andromeda galaxy. And many of you might know that we are in the Milky Way galaxy, and the Andromeda galaxy is the closest large galaxy to us. There are other galaxies that are closer, but they are much, much smaller. So I'm going to play this video in the background while I read an article from the Daily Journal. And I'm just going to play this while I read through this real quick. Our galaxy may not collide with its neighbors after all, suggests a new research. For over a century, astronomers believed the dramatic collision between the Milky Way and Andromeda galaxies was inevitable. But new research using data from NASA's Hubble telescope and the ESA Gaia observatory have cast doubts on that fate. An international team led by the Til Tawala of University of Helsinki analyzed the most precise measurements yet of both galaxies' motions and ran 100,000 computer simulations to forecast their future. The results showed only about 2% of chance that the galaxies will collide in the next 5 billion years, and only a 50-50 chance of a merger over the next 10 billion years. The simulations factored in 22 variables, including the gravitational influence of nearby satellite galaxies like Andromeda's M33 and our own large Magellanic Cloud. In about half the scenarios, the two galaxies pass close but don't merge, instead of continuing a kind of cosmic dance for billions of years. In the other half, they eventually collide and form a new galaxy, elliptical galaxy, but not for at least 7 to 8 billion years. Even using the latest and most precise observational data available, the future of the local group of several dozen galaxies is uncertain. We find an almost equal probability for the widely publicized merger scenario, or the controversial and alternative one where the Milky Way and Andromeda survive unscathed. However, NASA says any scenario may not matter to Earth-based humans. They add, considering that the warming sun makes Earth uninhabitable in roughly 1 billion years, and the sun itself will likely burn out in 5 billion years, a collision with Andromeda is the least of our cosmic worries. And I think that's fascinating that they are able to find new information and run it through a large amount of computer simulations in order to actually predict. Obviously, a majority of humanity would not have anything to do with this. Maybe the possibility of us being in a different solar system at the time would affect the individuals in that other solar system. But generally speaking, from what we can tell today, obviously our sun would be burnt out. All life in the solar system that we currently are in would be gone at that point. 1 billion years, 5 billion years is when the sun would completely die out. So generally speaking, this solar system would be uninhabitable at that point in time. Though, again, if we were able to go to other solar systems, it's possible for human beings themselves to still be around, just not in the same form factor that we are right now. And they actually have a interesting picture of the 3 scenarios that they talked about. So the scenario 1 in the top left corner is specifically if they just pass by each other, which theoretically would be the most positive of the options. Generally speaking, it would have the least amount of destruction. 2 in the top right corner is specifically the galaxies passing by close enough to each other, which would be considered a close encounter. And it says in this specific mock-up that dark matter provides friction that brings the galaxies to a close encounter, but not collision. So this one would be 500,000 light years between the 2 galaxies. The first one, if they don't touch at all, it'd be 1,000,000 light years of separation between the 2. And the third markup on the very bottom would specifically be if there was a galactical collision, and it says that there's 100,000 light years of separation would lead to specifically a collision between the Andromeda galaxy and the Milky Way galaxy. Again, the new data that's shown in the simulation shows that there is a very, very small chance, 2% chance that it would even specifically collide. And even beyond that, they think that the fact that we have galaxies that are smaller around both the Andromeda and the Milky Way galaxy, it would possibly throw off the trajectory of these 2 galaxies so that it wouldn't necessarily even be a problem at all. I do think it's fascinating, and I'm just going to read through this. This is on Ars Technica, and this is just an article about this subject, so I'm going to read through this real quick. Milky Way galaxy might not collide with Andromeda after all. And there might be a little bit of rehashing in this, but I'm just going to read through it real quick as best as possible. It's been textbook knowledge for over a century that our Milky Way galaxy is doomed to collide with another large spiral galaxy, Andromeda, in the next 5 billion years and merge into an even bigger galaxy. But a fresh analysis published in the journal Nature Astronomy is casting that long-lasting narrative in a more uncertain light. The authors conclude that the likelihood of this collision and merger is closer to the odds of a coin flip. And with a roughly 50% possibility that the 2 galaxies will avoid such an event during the next 10 billion years. Which is a reasonably good chance, honestly. If we're talking about gambling, a 50-50 chance is pretty dang good. But I'll go on. Both the Milky Way galaxy and the Andromeda galaxy are part of what's known as the local group, which also hosts other smaller galaxies, some not yet discovered, as well as dark matter, per the prevailing standard of cosmological model. But both already have remnants of past mergers and interactions with other galaxies, according to authors. Predicting future mergers requires knowledge about the present coordinates, velocities, and masses of the systems partaking in the interaction, the authors wrote. That involves not just a gravitational force between them, but also dynamical friction. It's the latter that dominates when galaxies are headed towards a merger, since it causes galactic orbits to decay. This latest analysis is the result of combining data from the Hubble telescope and a European Space Agency, Gaia Space Telescope, to perform 100,000 Monte Carlo computer simulations, taking into an account not just the Milky Way and Andromeda, but the full local galaxy system. Those simulations yielded a very different prediction. There is approximately a 50-50 chance that the galaxies colliding within the next 10 billion years. There is still a 2% chance that they will collide in the next 5 billion years. Based on the best available data, the fate of our galaxy is still completely open, the authors concluded. And again, this is just the mock-up they made of the different scenarios. 3 possible encounters, scenarios between the Milky Way galaxy and neighboring Andromeda galaxy. Top left, and we've already gone over this. And I'll go on. One confounding factor comes from 2 other local galaxies, M33 satellite galaxy and the Large Magellanic Cloud, or LMC. The simulation revealed that the former increases the likelihood of collision, but this is countered by the fact that the LMC's orbit runs perpendicular to the Milky Way and Andromeda orbit. The Milky Way and Andromeda alone would remain in the same plane as they orbit each other, but this doesn't mean they need to crash. They could still go past each other, said co-author Till Sawala of the University of Helsinki, Finland. The extra mass of the Andromeda satellite galaxy M33 pulls the Milky Way a little bit more towards it. However, we also show that the LMC pulls the Milky Way off the orbital plane away from the Andromeda. It doesn't mean that the LMC will save us from the merger, but it makes it a bit less likely. So, is it time to rewrite the textbooks? Not quite yet. More data and even more analysis is needed to confirm these latest findings. It's somewhat ironic. Despite the addition of more precise Hubble data taken in recent years, we are now less certain about the outcome and potential collision, said Sawala. That's because the more complex analysis, and because we consider it more complete system, but the only way to get to a new prediction about the eventual fate of the Milky Way galaxy will be with even greater data. And again, obviously, human beings won't be on Earth in 5 billion years. There's a very relatively short amount of time that human beings will be in this solar system, obviously comparatively to even the span of the 10 billion year prediction. The sun would theoretically be out at that point in time. But even beyond that, I think this stuff is really interesting. I hope you guys enjoyed this and thought it was interesting as well. Please like and subscribe.